Basic idea of the audience cost theory is that war is a puzzle. Why is it a puzzle? Because countries, if they understood what each other really wanted, they should be able to reach understandings and kind of split the difference, make a deal, and spare themselves the enormous costs of an armed conflict. And so the question is, well, why can't they just do that? And the answer is that they never know whether each other is for real in terms of what they're saying. There's this huge incentive to bluff. The phrase they use is an incentive to misrepresent. And so how can other countries separate the wheat from the chaff? How do they know whether what a country says is for real or not? And the answer they come up with is that the way they can make that distinction, or the way they can understand when a country is bluffing as opposed to when it's serious about what it's threatening, is whether the political leaders of that country would pay a price if they back down. If there's no price to pay for bluffing, there's no way for the target country to distinguish between real threats and bluffs. But if they do pay a price, well then they're for real. And so therefore the argument runs that your ability to do what they call generate audience cost, to make it clear to the entire world that you would pay a big price if you back down from a threat that you had explicitly made. Well, this means that what you say is credible in a way that it wouldn't be if audience costs weren't generated. And it's quite straightforward. The whole idea is you don't want to focus on history proper, historical sources proper, but instead on the historiography, on what historians and people who have written about particular historical episodes have had to say. So you scour the historical literature and you look for particular historical interpretations that have a certain resonance in the context of the particular theoretical issue you're concerned with, in this case, the audience cost theory. And it turns out there aren't that many cases where historians have made arguments to that effect, that a particular country was able to prevail in a crisis because it generated audience costs, or that a particular political leader was able to tie his hands and make it clear that he was going to go ahead regardless, because if he backed off after having stated such a strong position, the voters would turn against him and so on. There aren't that many cases, but there's one very big case. And this is the case of Kennedy's Vietnam policy in the early 1960s. This illustrates a very important point of method, which is how can political scientists use history to shed light on the issues they're interested in without actually becoming historians themselves? The answer is analyze the historiography. And the paper basically shows people